My mother stood up, glass in hand, her diamonds catching the light. She didn't rush it. She never did. She let the room settle, let the quiet bend toward her the way it always had. Then she turned slightly, angling her body so the chandeliers could do their work, and smiled in Kate's direction. "To my daughter Kate," she said, voice soft, practiced, sweet on the surface with something sharper hidden beneath. "She's the daughter I'm proud of." The reaction came instantly. Applause burst across the table, chairs scraping back, laughter swelling, approval humming through the room like electricity. Someone whistled. Someone else lifted a phone. I joined in, clapping lightly, politely, my hands moving while my pulse slammed hard against my throat. My smile felt borrowed, like something I was wearing for the occasion. Then the waiter appeared at my side, quiet and efficient, and slid a black leather folder across the white linen toward me. The bill, $1,980. It sat there heavy, deliberate, undeniable. Kate glanced over and smirked. Cameras clicked. Glasses chimed. Slowly, one by one, eyes shifted in my direction. Heat crawled up my neck, burning shame and fury together until I couldn't tell them apart. I didn't protest. I didn't say a word. I just knew in that moment that this would be the last time I paid to belong. I grew up in a house that looked flawless from the sidewalk. Fresh paint, trimmed hedges, lilacs blooming in the spring. It was the kind of place people slowed down to admire. Inside, perfection came with conditions. And I learned early who received the deluxe version of love. My sister Kate was the obvious choice. Golden hair.
Easy smile.
The kind of child strangers wanted to photograph. When relatives visited, they gravitated toward her like gravity had decided. "She's a star already," they'd say, pinching her cheek. Then they'd notice me standing nearby. "And Helen's the smart one," they'd add, as if intelligence were a consolation prize. My mother, Margaret, valued Polish above all else. The house, the table settings, our emotions. "Chaos is ugly," she liked to say. Whenever I cried, she'd press a napkin into my hand and whisper, "Don't make a scene, sweetheart." Grace under pressure. My father would nod from behind his newspaper. He wasn't unkind, just absent in all the ways that mattered. When I was 12, Kate decided she wanted ballet lessons. Mom enrolled her at the most prestigious studio in town, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows so everyone could watch their daughters spin. When I asked about science camp, Mom smiled tightly. "That's expensive, honey. The library has a free program." That summer, Kate danced under bright lights. I built paper rockets under fluorescent bulbs. Every Friday, she received flowers. I got picked up late because Mom was still applauding. That became our rhythm. Kate asked. Kate received. I adapted. I stitched torn dresses. I ran forgotten errands. I filled gaps without being asked. My reward was always the same. "You're such a help, Helen." Helpful became my identity long before I had a job. High school widened the gap. Kate wore a new dress to every dance. I wore the same black one 3 years in a row, hemming it shorter each spring. She got a car at 16. I took the bus and told myself independence was better than envy. When college came, my parents covered Kate's tuition and rent without hesitation. For me, they said, "You're responsible. You'll manage." So I did. Night shifts at a care home. Lectures fueled by caffeine and resentment. On graduation day, I sent photos in my cap and gown. They didn't come. Mom texted instead, meant for someone else. So proud of Kate, her LA shoot went great. It still landed, and still I loved them. I called every week. Sent gifts. Showed up to holidays with pies baked after 12-hour shifts. Mom would sigh and say, "You work too much, Helen. You should smile more like your sister." I laughed along, swallowing the sting. Ben came into my life during one of those endless hospital nights. He noticed things I'd been trained not to. "You move like someone waiting for permission," he said once. I didn't understand until later. I kept hoping adulthood would level things out. That stability would earn me space. I built a quiet life in Chicago's small apartment, thrifted furniture, peace I paid for myself. I sent money home when they asked. I thought helping proved love. But the more I gave, the smaller I felt. Late at night, I scrolled through Kate's Instagram perfect vacations, brand deals, glowing captions about family support. The same parents who told me money was tight were funding her lifestyle. Anger rose. Guilt followed. Don't be jealous, Helen. It's not attractive. By 30. I stopped expecting fairness, but I never stopped hoping for it. That was the trap. Every call from my mother felt like a test. It always began sweetly. Then came the ask, rent, repairs, emergencies that never seemed to end. Each transfer drained more than my account. Ben noticed. Was that your mom or your boss? He asked once. They only call when they need something. That's not love. The next family dinner was downtown. When the check arrived, it slid directly to me. Mom smiled. Helen, would you mind? You always take care of us. I paid. Of course I did. But something cracked. Then came Kate's 30th birthday invitation, formal, family only. I went because that's what I always did. I didn't know it yet, but it would be the last time. The restaurant glowed with soft jazz and chandeliers. I wore a navy dress that said effort without excess. Kate sparkled. Mom orchestrated. I stayed quiet. When the cake arrived, Mom stood, glass raised, diamonds scattering light across the room. To my daughter Kate, she said, voice smooth and proud. She's the daughter I'm proud of. Applause, laughter, flashes. I clapped once more out of habit, then felt the waiter beside me. He placed the folder down gently. I opened it. $1,980. Mrs. Perry next door waved as I loaded me car. Moving already? She asked. Just a few things? I said, smiling. Back inside, I left one final note on the kitchen table written on Mom's fancy stationery. I've moved out. Utilities in me name will end in 24 hours. I locked the door behind me. For the first time in my life, the air felt light. They thought I was their tenant. They were about to learn I'd just become something else entirely. The first night in my new place felt strange, too quiet. No footsteps upstairs, no television bling from the living room, no one reminding me to be grateful, just me, a half-finished kitchen, and the hum off refrigerator. I sat on the floor eating pizza straight from the box and lawed. It wasn't freedom yet, but it was close. The call started 2 hours later. First Mom, then Dad, then Sienna, dozens of them. By midnight, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. 43 missed calls. I turned it face down and kept unpacking. Their voices left messages in me. Madison Marie Cole. Mom shrieked, "You get back here right now. This is not how family behaves. We need that money. The mortgage is due." Dad voice came next, low and disappointed. "You're acting like a child. Come home and we'll talk about this like adults." Sienna's was shorter. "You selfish brat." I didn't respond. I blocked their numbers, powered off my phone, and went to bed. By morning, Aunt Grace called from a number I didn't recognize. "Your parents are saying you ran away," she said softly. "What happened?" "They raised my rent to $3,000, I said. Ilift. Silence. Then a sharp inhale. $3,000. For your own room?" "Yep," Grace sighed. "Honey, I can't say blame you." For the next few weeks, I kept my head down. Ethan and I focused on the Victorian. The place was huge, beautiful in a haunted kind of way. High ceilings, cracked molding sun streaming through a broken glass. Every nail I hammered, every coat of paint I rolled on felt like a wall going up between me and the past. By the time we sold it 8 months later, I wasn't just free, I was secure. The profit let us open our own company, MC Designs and Restorations. Ethan laughed when I told him what the initials really stood for. Madison Scumbag, I said. Business took office. Word spread. Within a year, we had 3 employees and a small office downtown. I never told my family. I didn't need to. Then, almost exactly 12 months after I'd walked out, Aunt Grace called again. "Your parents are in trouble," she said. "They're behind on the mortgage. They asked me for a $20,000 loan." I leaned back in my chair. "Did you give it to them?" Of course not, she said. But Madison, they might lose the house. I looked at the framed floor plan in my wall, the first blueprint I'd ever drawn labeled home. Then they lose it, I said quietly. Actions have a consequences. A month later, I got an email from Ethan's realtor friend Derek list of upcoming foreclosures. I almost deleted it, but something made me scroll. There it was. 84 Willow Lane, my prince's house. I stared at the address for a full minute before calling Derek. That colonial on Willow, I said. Is it confirmed? Yeah, bank's taking offers next week. Why make one cash? Hugh whistled. You sure? Completely. 3 weeks later, it was done. The paperwork arrived on a Thursday morning. Neat stack of forms, a shiny new deed with my name printed clean across the top. The some name Mom used to write on grocery lists and utility envelopes. Now it sat above a property title. I didn't feel giddy. I didn't even smile. I just stared at it, feeling something settle like gravity, finally deciding where it belonged. I waited until the 29th day off their eviction notice before going back. It was a gray afternoon, the kind that smells like rain and old pavement. A moving truck sat in the driveway, the some spot where I used to park my beat-up sedan. Mom was on the porch, arms crossed, eyes red. Dad carried boxes out of the truck, silent. Sienna stood in the doorway, watching me like I was a ghost. You came to gloat, Mom snapped. I shook my head. No, I came to see my property. Dad froze mid-step. What are you talking about? I bought it, I said, holding up the deed from the bank. For a long moment, no one spoke. Even the air seemed to stop moving. Then Sienna lodged sharp bitter. You bought it. That's hilarious. I looked straight at her. No, what's hilarious is that the bank didn't even counteroffer. Mom's lip trembled. You can't just I didn't make you miss payments. You did that. Dad set his box down. So what now? You want to see us on the street? That's what this is about. No, I said evenly. I'm here to offer you a lease. Their eyes widened as I unfolded the papers. $2,500 a month plus utilities. Same ratio charged me. Mom's face went pale. That's cruel. I shrugged. No, that's business. You taught me that. Sienna scoffed. You're unbelievable. Funny, I said. You all used to call me responsible. Looks like you were right. Dad rubbed his temples. We can't afford that, Madison. Then you'll have to find somewhere cheaper, I said. But if y'all want to stay, sign here. I held out the pen. No yelling, no threats, just silence and the ticking of the porch clock. Finally, Dad signed. Then Mom her hand shook. I can't believe you did this to your own family, she whispered. I can't believe you did it first, I said. Sienna grabbed the papers, scanned them, her eyes filling with tears. $50 late fee per day fair's fair, I said. When they were done, I tucked the lease into my folder. The keys stay with me, I added. If you're late 3 months in a row, you're out. Mom started crying again. You don't mean this. I met her eyes. I do every word. As I turned to leave, she called after me. Madison, what about the internet, the bills? I looked back once. Those are the tenant's responsibilities. Then I got in my car, started the engine and drove away. I didn't look in the mirror until the next light. Through the rear view, I saw them standing there, tiny figures against the house that once made me feel small. They thought they raised my rent to break 'em. All they did was teach me how to own the roof they'd weaponized. And as I drove off, the rain finally started to fall soft, steady, cleansing. That waste day, they moved out of their house, and I moved out of their shadow. 3 months later, the rent arrived on time, every first of the month. A direct deposit labeled Cole household landed in me account. No calls, no small talk, no how are you. Just money clean, emotionless, consistent. It was almost poetic. Ethan and I had grown the company to 8 employees. We were renovating 2 apartment buildings at once. Designing spaces for families reminded me of everything mine WSN single, quotes. Sometimes after long work days. I drive by Willow Lane. The porch light was on the lawn, trimmed the same curtains in the windows. From the outside, it looked normal again. But inside, the power had shifted forever. Then one morning, Aunt Grace called. "Your dad's in the hospital," she said quietly. "Chest pains. He's okay now, but maybe visit." I did. Mom was in the waiting room, shoulders slumped, eyes tired. She looked smaller somehow. When she saw me, she didn't yell. She just nodded. "He needs to slow down," she murmured. Dad was awake when I entered his room. He didn't apologize, and I didn't expect him to. He just looked at me for a long moment and said, "You did good, Maddie." For the first time, I believed him. When I left the hospital, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. The lesson had already been learned by all of us. They'd taught me what money could buy. I taught them what self-respect costs. A year has passed since then. They still live in that house, my house, paying rent every month. Mom started a small garden in the backyard. Dad works fewer hours now. Sienna finally kept a job, maybe for the first time in her life. Sometimes I stop you to drop off mail or paperwork. Wet and hug. We don't fight. We just exist, separate, balanced. I don't know if that's forgiveness. Maybe it's something quieter, something earned. People always ask if I regret it. The truth, not for a second. Because family isn't about who raised you under their roof. It's about who respects you when you build your own. If you've ever had to draw that line, you're not alone. Hit subscribe for more stories like this.